In recent years, a confident tone has entered our public conversations. We speak of representation as though a long and difficult task has reached its conclusion. Faces appear on screens, names are placed on panels, images circulate in offices and advertisements, and a quiet satisfaction settles in. The problem, we are told, has been addressed. Progress has arrived, applause follows naturally. And yet, when one watches closely, not critically, I would say, merely attentively, something feels thinner than before. Stories feel simpler, characters feel tidier, people appear present, yet strangely predictable. Representation has increased, individuality less so. I'm Rashmi and welcome to Anthropologically Yours. This episode is not an argument against representation nor a celebration of it. It is an attempt to understand what representation has become, how it functions, what it replaces, and why it so often feels complete while leaving something unresolved. Let's talk about how diversity becomes a business tool, or it has already become. Markets have always been sensitive to mood. When people feel uncertain, businesses adjust their language. When trust weakens, reassurance becomes valuable. Diversity entered corporate and institutional language during such moments. Not because the world suddenly discovered fairness, but because audiences were anxious, fragmented, and increasingly skeptical. Visibility offered calm. Seeing difference on display created the feeling of inclusion, even when little else changed. This was not a lie in the crude sense, it was a careful choice. Capitalism rarely invents ideas, it selects them. It notices what reassures people and repeats it until confidence returns. Diversity, presented neatly and positively, became a signal that institutions were modern, listening, and aligned with the future, all without altering how power actually moved. The appearance of change performed the work of change. So, how we learn what we want? Most of what we desire is learned long before we choose it. In school, in books, in lectures and ceremonies, we are shown examples of success. Certain lives are praised, certain journeys are highlighted. We are taught not only facts but direction, who to admire, what achievement looks like, which endings are celebrated. This teaching is rarely explicit. It works through repetition. By adulthood, ambition already feels familiar. We recognize success rather than invent it. The marketplace continues the lesson with advertisements, stories, narrations, and carefully chosen images. Well, desire feels personal, though it has been all rehearsed over the years, decades. It's tribal. Representation fits comfortably into the system. It does not ask us to imagine differently. It simply offers new faces performing familiar ideals. So, why representation becomes simple? That is my question. When representation is international, it is also very careful. Carefulness carries a cost. Stories avoid complication. Characters behave as expected. Motives are very clear. Ambiguity fades. This is not cruelty, it is efficiency. Complex people slow understanding. They raise questions. They refuse tidy conclusions. Media systems designed to move quickly and widely prefer clarity over contradiction. A person who cannot be easily read becomes inconvenient. So representation begins to favor recognizable types of people over the real people. Identity becomes a symbol rather than a lived condition. Stories reassure rather than explore. Let's talk about the immigrant as a symbol here. Within this managed storytelling, immigrants occupy a narrow space. They are allowed to appear, but rarely to simply exist. They must explain themselves, they must represent something: gratitude, resilience, culture, ceremonies, danger, inspiration. The role varies, but the requirement remains. Interior life is optional, complexity is discouraged. The good immigrant becomes familiar, productive, polite, ambitious, emotionally restrained. This figure comforts the host society. Difference feels safe when it behaves predictably. What unsettles is ordinariness. A foreign character who is dull, selfish, confused, morally mixed, or simply unremarkable disrupts the narrative. Such people resemble reality too closely, and reality resists management. So, individuality is quietly removed in favor of clarity. So, why subtlety struggles to survive? Subtlety asks something of the audience: attention, patience, interpretation. These are expensive qualities in a fast economy. A subtle story does not tell viewers how to feel at the correct moment. It may provoke sympathy where none was intended. It may leave questions unanswered. It may fail to deliver comfort on schedule. This slows consumption. Modern systems prefer immediacy. Reaction replaces reflection. Complexity is filtered out not because it is unwelcome, but because it takes too long. So, the psychological effect on everyone: for those being represented, a strange experience emerges. They are visible yet not fully recognized, included yet not understood, seen often, encountered rarely. For those watching, another effect develops. Categories become familiar, individuals less so. People learn correct responses faster than genuine curiosity. Empathy becomes something one performs briefly rather than something one sustains. The result feels warm but very, very thin. So, what has capitalism done to it? Well, capitalism has done its job very well. From a market perspective, this system works beautifully. Identity becomes an aesthetic. Discomfort is reduced. Conflict is softened. Audiences feel satisfied without needing to think deeply. Even resistance becomes stylish. Critique is packaged. Outrage circulates safely. Nothing here is accidental. This is not anybody's failure. It is success measured by calm rather than understanding. So, the real representation would be far less convenient. It would allow people to appear without explanation. It would tolerate contradiction. It would permit discomfort to remain unresolved. It would trust audiences to think rather than applaud. Such representation would not soothe, it would irritate, it would slow things down. For now, we live with a polished version of diversity: visible, supervised, reassuring. It performs its role very well. It calms you, it confirms, it preserves. The task then is not rejection, not celebration, but awareness. To notice when representation replaces understanding, to recognize when visibility stands in for knowledge, to remain alert to the difference between being shown and being known. That attention, quiet and unspectacular, remains one of the few freedoms still available to a thoughtful mind. This is Anthropologically Yours. The invitation, as always, is neither agreement nor outrage, but only attention. See you soon. Bye bye.